What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Speaking of people joining, we've got a couple of new members, so big massive shout outs to Mario Knows It's Flat, who joined as a penguin, and also Passway Toa, who's also joined as a penguin, so massive shout out of appreciation to you. As I say, if you do want to join, there's a blue join button on a PC, and I think there's also one on Android, or a link below if you haven't got either of those devices. So we are joined by Righteous Force, Chocolate Saiyan, and 10th Man in G+. Welcome.
Morning.
Good morning.
Got a whole bunch of people in Discord, so hello to everyone in Discord.
Hello.
Hello. Any signs?
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Good morning. Hello.
Any evidence of a physical sphere edge capable of geometric measurement?
How could an apparent position be physical?
It can't.
That would be
It
opposite.
Any evidence of Earth curvature?
Not from Los Angeles Airport.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No spin.
We would then need access,
Hey, Sleeping
which
Warrior.
would require this supposed curvature.
Feel free to join in Discord. Any scientific evidence of gravity? Hey, Arwin. Arvane?
None.
Hello.
Hello!
Oh,
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
no.
No.
No. Let's first establish it's a physical thing in the first place to have a distance too.
So much stuff we need to establish physicality for at the moment. It's untrue. I lose track.
Yep.
Hey, Flatsword.
If they can't measure the edge, how are they going to measure the sun?
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No, just cartoons.
Yep. Fantastical idea.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Bloody hell.
Hey guys.
Stupid Windows. It's supposed to be refined and getting better, but it seems to be getting worse.
Any evidence of the R value?
No, only a bit of illusionary refracted nonsense over the horizon.
Yeah.
Over the
Oh,
horizon.
Rueff and his R fraction yesterday. That was special. Over at Ranty's.
Any single...
Would the radius
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Flatsword.
would the radius have an edge?
Yeah, I think the moon landings are definitely fake.
would the radius have an edge?
Yeah, if we're on a sphere, then as Brenda came in and tried to argue about a week ago, you can calculate the sphere edge, the bit that's going to be obstructing, with the geometry. That's the thing that they think the horizon is, a physical edge of a sphere.
And Nathan, have you heard Ruhif's statement yesterday about infinite refraction?
Of things around the horizon. So, yeah, you think that you've done well. By arguing with him about refraction, Anthony already knew this. They'll just bend the light a bit more, and we've got to the point where they're having to bend it infinitely. Well, shock horror, that's still a draw. Now, we can highlight the farcical nature of slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projections from beyond the reified edge of Van Earth curve, based on a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. Now, that reified edge isn't the looming. Now, you look up definitions of looming, and it talks about how things are moving in respect to the horizon. You're not having definitions give you an explanation about the horizon being loomed above the horizon.
Yep. How does that work? How can
Didn't
It doesn't,
say that?
and it doesn't work. Not only does it not work.
Infinite looming?
Not only does it not
Infinite
work as a,
refraction?
not
I'm
only does
sorry,
it not,
Jimmy.
not only does it not work as an effect of atmosphere, that's not what their model is. They need an edge. Something physical to block buildings in the distance, for boats to go over, for them to ask us why they're missing from the bottom. That's what they need. Why aren't people getting this? Anyway, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Nope.
Yeah, no. Would every scientific to have scientific validity, would you say you need a demonstrated experiment?
Well, maybe I could summarize roughly what that group of people would do. You know,
Group of
the
people. they ask about-
astrologer would say, look, at some point their star's going to disappear. It's been predicted according to blah, blah, blah. Then the astronomer takes a careful look when the time comes and sees, oh, look, this star's disappearing. Then the astrophysicist says, I know why that happens. It's because a black hole or the star exploded, and starts to tell the heliocentric scientific fiction story about it. At no point ever was the scientific method applied.
Correct. Hope that answers your question.
Or they just say the model is wrong.
Shout out to Wakey Wakey. Right, shout out to Good Servant. Thank you very much for hitting the super chat. Last but by no means least, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container for all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe the sky is a vacuum?
No,
I'm
but,
still waiting.
but Danny Faulkner tried to answer this the other day
Is that
on
so?
that show.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I posed the question at the beginning of the stream, but I was censored. So that people replying to me is still in that chat feed, but my question of how you can have gas pressure without a container was censored from the feed.
Yeah, I was able to get mine in at the 52-minute mark, and it was the last question that the host brought up to him, and he kind of did it like, well, I have to end it here. Sorry to do this, kind of. And then he asked the question. If someone could put up my slide in Master B of the tail end of Dr. Danny Faulkner's answer. Slide I put there. Can present that, please.
Got it on screen. I'll just tidy it up a little bit. Go ahead.
All right. So he goes through all his examples at the 1 hour, 1 minute, 40-second mark. And I would say go listen to those examples that he gave of gas pressure, how it can work next to a vacuum of space. They're the most ridiculous answers you ever heard. However, he ended it up with the statement that I have on screen. I've just given multiple examples, quote unquote. I've just given multiple examples here of a vacuum coexisting with a non-vacuum without a container. And if you can figure out why that exists in a stable situation in the Earth's atmosphere, you've just answered the question of why you can have a vacuum of space, quote unquote, and not rob the Earth of its atmosphere. We'll come back to that. I won't convince many flat earthers on that, but that is the answer. They don't like it because it's a talking point. They're not about to give it up, even though they're wrong about it. Dr. Danny Faulkner, January 18, 2020, Human of Earth YouTube channel, 1 hour, 4 minute 57 mark to 1 hour, 5 minute 35 second mark.
So what were his
Did he-
examples?
Well, I will tell you his examples in just a second, but I just want to go over that first paragraph.
Okay, I'll stick it back up.
I've just given multiple examples here of a vacuum coexisting with a non-vacuum without a container. The question is simple. How can you have gas pressure without a container? Look at the way he chooses to answer. Multiple examples of a vacuum coexisting with a non-vacuum without a container. And if you can figure out, he's telling us, if you can figure out why that exists in a stable situation. Well, what is the meaning of a stable situation?
Can I ask something?
Sounds like a trick question.
Hang on.
A rock
Yes,
is also a
you-
non-vacuum.
You can all ask what you want. Just wait. In the Earth's atmosphere, you've just answered the question of why you can have a vacuum of space. Now, what does that mean? We'll find out in a minute. Quote unquote, and not rob the Earth of its atmosphere. The double speak of this person is incredible. Because in his examples, do you know how he describes a vacuum?
Go on.
The lower pressure above an airplane wing versus the higher pressure under the airplane wing.
All right.
That's a
Well, we
vacuum
would ask
fill.
in that example where you got gas pressure from in the first place.
Oh
Like if you describe a hurricane.
my
in
God.
order
He's
to-
listening to
Wow.
people like Zanuck.
So that
Really?
sounds like, look,
That's a Zanuck argument. Are you kidding?
a vacuum may be
Really?
low pressure,
PhD.
but not all low pressure is a vacuum.
Right.
Hang on, it gets
Wow.
better. It gets better. He says it's, again, I have to be fair. So I will say, he did say this was very slight, but it does prove the point. Vacuum over your head compared to your feet. Not much of a difference, but it's there.
What? It's just a moron.
Huh?
If it's got particulate matter in it, then you can't consider it a vacuum.
This is why when you redefine the word vacuum, and then we go back to the last quote that I have, you can see the doublespeak.
Yeah. Well,
I've
his
just-
example.
Well, people
low
like
pressure with vacuum. That's
people like Zanuck have tried to redefine vacuum, and somebody like him will say, "Oh, it's a pressure differential." So wherever you have a pressure differential, you have a vacuum.
Yeah, it's just not correct. So a gas pressure differential would be would give rise to the following question: where did the gas pressure in the first instance exist? How did you get the gas pressure in the first place? In other words, if you've got some gas pressure and then you move a wing over it, you can cause a differential. That's fascinating. Where did it get the gas pressure from in the first place? Well, that's the original question. How can you have gas pressure without a container? And to demonstrate that, we'd need to see gas pressure without any container. Now, before the wing moves and after the wing's been there, and during the wing's process of doing that, you already had gas pressure the entire time. And how do you have gas pressure? Well, gas pressure's it pressing on something. So beyond that example, you've got to justify where you had the gas pressure in the first instance to cause that differential. It's a delta of gas pressure. First you have gas pressure, then you have a gas pressure differential. And our question isn't in regards to delta X, gas pressure differentials, it's in regards to gas pressure. How can you have the gas pressure for you then to move a wing over it without a container? And we'd need a demonstration of that, not you causing a difference in gas pressure that's pre-existing. Idiots.
Okay, so did he demonstrate any of this, or did he just say?
No.
It's not demonstrating
an
gas pressure without a
afternoon talk
container.
show.
He's giving a false equivalence and demonstrating delta X, gas pressure differential. So no, he's not giving an example.
There were two words missing in the dialogue that he had on this point. The two words that I found interesting that were missing was the word gradient, never mentioned it, and the word gravity, never mentioned it. So he stayed away from those 2 points, but he also, for another one of his examples, talked about the atmosphere doesn't go one atmosphere to a vacuum, because he's saying that as he went up on a mountain, as you can go back to the 1 hour, 1 minute, 40-second mark and listen to his examples yourself, that as he goes up higher on the mountain, the air is less and less. So he said that, but he says that continues all the way up to where at so many, I can't remember what the height was, it's only 1% of what it is here on Earth, meaning the atmosphere.
Yeah, well,
So
so
he-
what? Gas is created at ground level. The fact that it makes its way up to those heights and isn't being produced at those heights, therefore there's less of it as more is produced below, that isn't a justification for there being a sky vacuum. Because that very low 1% of gas would immediately dissipate into the available volume it had if it wasn't contained. So your gas pressure differential, as I've just explained, is merely a red herring. It's addressing delta X, gas pressure differentials, rather than the question, how can you have the gas pressure in the first place without a container? And we need to see a demonstration of some gas pressure not being contained. Not you producing a differential in pre-existing gas pressure, because the necessary antecedent is a container. And you're saying, no, it isn't, because the sky's a vacuum. Oh, really? Well, beyond your fundy belief and you addressing a gas pressure differential, how can you have gas pressure without a container?
Do you think
Wait.
they understand that?
There's your answer, guys.
So-
Wait.
Do you
Wait.
think they realize?
Oh, sorry, hold on.
Wait.
Weight is down. Vector down. Gas expands in all
Yeah.
directions.
You're saying gas doesn't have weight?
Sorry, how did it get to the top of Everest, given that it's got weight? So it's not making its way to the top of Everest. It's not going up to the top of Everest, given that all the gas is produced at ground level. Very
That's all I
little of
said.
it's produced at the top of Everest. And yet there it is. It's made its way, let's just say it again slower, up! So vector of down, weight, not applicable with gas. Expands in all directions.
So there's a gradient, so that wouldn't be in all directions.
Sorry, did you not just listen to me explaining that it's produced at ground level and makes its way up? But it's going to be thinner at the top, given that it's not produced there, and more of it at the bottom, because that's where it
But
is
it
produced.
expands in all directions.
But ultimately speaking, while you interrupt me, it's making its way in defiance of a vector of down to do this. So that was your first point, and you're yet to address my debunking, given that gas expands in all directions. So your vector of down isn't the explanation. Will you concede this, please, before we move on?
There's a bit of a non sequitur.
Sorry, you're saying the fact that gas expands in all directions, completely negating your claim that down is only applicable, even though you later go on to juxtapose that with it being at the top of something and being thinner, so therefore must have made its way up. You think that's a non sequitur? No, it's not. It just rips apart your claim that the explanation for this is somehow down. It's got weight. No, it expands up. That's how it got to the top of Everest and was thinner up there than where it was produced at the ground. So, no rebuttal, just claimed to be a non sequitur. Useless twat.
That answers your question, though. How you have gas pressure without a container is you give the molecules or atoms a property called weight.
Sorry, I've just explained that that's
Am I-
not
am I
applicable.
wrong?
It's the third time. I'll say it one last time, then I'll just get rid of you from the conversation because you're not
No,
listening to me.
don't. Let me.
He's not,
I
well, he's
know
not
that you wanna
listening
get
to
rid of
me.
him.
It's the
I
third.
want to beg the question with him.
It's the third repetition of him saying the answer to this problem, how do you have gas pressure without a container, is weight. Because the
Yeah, I
gas
know.
is being pulled down. That's his answer. And I'm saying that's wrong. And he's just repeated it for the third time. What, should we have
It is wrong.
15
I agree.
15
Yeah.
more times of him saying weight solves the problem and that my
It doesn't.
rebuttal that it expands
No,
in all
no,
directions?
Nathan,
Why am I getting
you're
The
rumpus?
weight of the gas is not
I
going to
don't get it.
prevent
I don't get it. I've got a
from
concise
expanding in all
point to
directions.
make that debunks him, and my own panel wants to shut me up. No,
No,
he's,
you're
he's
right.
hand waved
You are
me
right.
3 times, and
You're
my
right, though,
rebuttal
Nathan.
is unaddressed. No, his solution that is reasserted 3 times is that down solves the problem. It doesn't. That's how we got gas at the top.
Indeed.
Can
Yeah.
I
Well,
also
nobody
point
said there
out
were
that
other
Weight-
forces
weight
or,
is
or
not gonna
things
prevent
going
the
on.
gas.
Nathan.
Pardon, unorthodox.
Yeah, maybe I'm missing the point, but I mean, nobody said there aren't other things going on in the atmosphere that could make it raise
Unorthodox.
in level or in height.
Let me take over from Nathan.
Why?
I'll do this in a different
So,
way.
I'm sorry,
to Nathan.
am I losing?
No, you've made your point, but Unorthodox doesn't understand it. So I'm going to show him why he can't even have it if he begs the question.
Fine.
Unorthodox, this is on the assumption that we accept your point that weight, if we give the gas weight, then we can explain it, which was your point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Define weight for me as per the physics definition.
F equals mg.
Weight. Yes, mg.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be F equals mg.
So-
That's
So you
that's
know
where you get weight
that
from.
you know that the g is gravity, and we know that gravity is not a force. But for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to give you that gravity is a force, even though it isn't. Do you understand that?
Well, I was trying to argue in terms of not including gravity, just saying weight, because we all agree things
Yeah,
have
but weight
weight.
does include gravity. It includes gravity being little g as a force, right?
Well, no, F equals mg. G is not F. So gravity isn't a force, it's an acceleration field.
Yeah, and mass accelerates is a force.
It essentially causes a force, right? If you, like I said, just look at the equation.
Listen,
F
I'm
equals
going to
mg.
give you
F isn't
gravity
G,
being a
so
He's not
force.
G
listening.
is F.
He's not listening to you, Anthony. He's not listening.
It
That you.
doesn't matter. The weight
Hold on,
doesn't
Arwen.
matter.
Arwen, thank you. He's not listening to you, Anthony. You've said already, as a disclaimer, that you'll concede this. But he wants to argue the semantics of how he justifies a not actual force as being a cause of a force when you've already given it him. I don't get it.
So unorthodox, just agree that I'm giving you gravity as a force for this conversation, okay?
Okay. No. That's fine.
Okay. So mass. What's the definition of mass?
Anything that takes up space and resists acceleration.
Takes up space, right? So how do you have mass, right? So we have air molecules, and the air molecules are not connected to each other. They are individual to themselves, and they lack intermolecular bonds. Do you agree?
That they lack I don't know if I would agree to the second part.
Okay, so they have intramolecular bonds, but they lack intermolecular bonds. Do you understand the difference between the two?
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're talking about.
They're not bonded.
Yes or
Gas
no?
is unbonded. Let's just end this. It's pointless. It's unbonded. Gas isn't attached. That's what defines it as being a gas.
Correct.
Do you understand or not?
Unbonded.
Do
It
you
lacks
understand?
intermolecular
Okay,
bonds.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
Sure.
So what is the mass in the context of gas? Is it the molecule or is it something else?
Well, it would be the molecule or the atom that takes up space and resists movement or acceleration.
Right. If it's the molecule, then that's your mass.
Yeah, or atom.
Right. So if we're talking at the molecular level, how then do you qualify gas to have weight when you don't have the whole of the gas? You only have one molecule.
The same way you would qualify it in any other sense. But isolating one
Well,
atom
explain.
is quite difficult.
Explain. How do you get more than one molecule if you just agreed that mass is the molecule? Where do you get all of the molecules from?
I'm kind of missing the point here. I mean, we're talking about a collection of molecules. Are you
How do
talking
you
about
collect-
how we
No.
isolate
Stop,
one
hold on,
molecule?
Anthony. No. Did you not just listen? Unbonded. Not a collection. Unconnected. You fucking retard. Didn't you listen? I qualified it. Anthony explained it. You said you didn't understand. Then you said you did understand. Unbonded. Not a collection, you shithead.
Those are two different things.
Yeah, no shit.
Right.
No
One is
shit.
and the other one's
So
wrong.
we're talking about unbonded and you're saying a collection. Two different things, one being not the other. So not a collection, shit for brains. Clear?
How do you get mass when you've only got one molecule?
The same way you get mass in any other sense.
How?
In any
You
other
haven't got-
scenario.
they're not bonded.
It doesn't have to be bonded.
Yeah, they don't have to be bonded for mass. Fuckwit. No, you're
Why
just...
would they have to be bonded for mass?
yeah, mate, you're fucked. Anthony's raped you. Now you just need to bleed.
Nathan,
Okay.
let's do this nicely.
Can I
So-
talk about something else too? Since you guys are
No!
talking about this.
What? At the point that he's won? and can now tell his audience how he's beaten the shit out of you with this stupid mass example that assumes G when you're talking about down for stuff that expands in all directions. What you want to babble on. No! Shut up, sit down and understand you've lost.
How do you have mass if you've only got one molecule in the atmosphere? Even if we give you gravity being a force, where does the mass come from if it's only one molecule?
From the space that the molecule takes up.
So space is now mass, is it?
Nah, the space between it's not the mass. What are you on about, you bozo?
Space between it's not mass.
No, mate. You're not going to sit down? Going to keep fighting this corner, even though you've lost already? You're gonna off the ropes, onto the canvas, and then stumbling around to get punched a few times, are you? You've lost.
Nathan, Nathan, stop. The audience sees that he's lost. I want him to see that he's lost.
He'll never see he's lost. He's a fundy. This will just go on for the next 3 times like he denied it with me 3 times. It's going to go expanding in all direction. Even when you give him gravity, the thing he came in with and didn't concede for me, he still doesn't get his argument to make coherent sense, which is what you've pointed out. Yeah, we can beg the question of downward forces, and the gas is still expanding. Up.
Yeah, if a gas expanded in all
it does. Yeah, that's right. It does. Yeah, if it does. No, it does. Contrary to your claim that down solves this, which is where I shit all over you too. No, down doesn't solve this. Gravity doesn't stop the gas dispersing to fill the available volume, because that's not how gas behaves. It's not being pulled down, it's making its way up.
Do you know why it is
if you slow like pressurized containers, if you input gas into a...
Sorry, dickhead, do you think now you've lost that it's time for you to spew your next shite over the audience? No, it's now time for Anthony to gloat how badly he beat you. So shut up!
Well, I would gloat if I could get a word in, Nathan. So,
my bad.
Unorthodox. Where does the weight come from then? If you haven't got if you've only got a molecule, where does the weight come from?
The same place it would come from in any other scenario. I don't really get your point. When you're talking about one molecule, though, you can't really talk about states of matter because states of matter.
Stop. Every other example includes mass, where you've got intermolecular bonds that holds an object together to give it cohesive properties, right? We have a globule, or we have a rock, or we have whatever, and that is a mass. But with gas, it doesn't have any intermolecular bonds. You've only got one molecule, and you've admitted that and accepted that. So where do you have the mass, assuming that you have gravity anyway, to give you weight? Because without weight, your argument falls apart and you lose.
I never said intermolecular bonds were responsible for weight.
I said that it's the lack of the shut up. It's the lack of the intermolecular bonds that is the reason why you can't have weight for your explanation.
I'm talking like on a macro scale. Like if you put gas in a container.
Oh, what? If you get a whole collection of it together? Yeah, we know. We've already pointed this out. So what, round and round a few more times, Anthony? How many more times while he bundles them all together?
Nathan, he's just conceded. He said if you put it in a container. But we're not in a container though, are we?
I'm saying that's how you prove it has weight.
If it's in a container? Oh, sorry, Anthony, you have the moment. I'm trying to steal it from you now. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, so according to you guys,
Earth is a container, we have weight. We're not in a container, are we?
We put it in a container, do we?
That's what he said.
I mean, you guys say that Earth is contained.
Yeah, you got him, Tony.
Sorry, you guys say, this is your argument, shit for brains. You're trying to stop the gas expanding into the vacuum, and you've just said the way you prove it's got weight is put it in a container.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, so I'm using your premises.
My premise? This is your fucking argument, you dipshit. My premise is that Earth is flat and the sky is definitely not a vacuum. So, what, you're going to use my premise of the sky not being a vacuum to prove how downward forces stop the gas expanding in all directions by not expanding into the vacuum because they've got weight? And how do you prove they've got weight? You put them in a container? That's my premise, is it? No. This is your justification for a religious belief in the sky vacuum. It's rubbish. It doesn't work, even if we give you gravity. Well done, Anthony.
You don't think there's a dome?
Nice.
Sorry, what is this now? You asking us about what the sky is? You're justifying the sky vacuum and you've lost, and you've got the gall to start asking me about domes. We must be contained. We've got gas pressure. I've not got a clue what the sky is. I don't make that claim. You think it's a vacuum and justify it with down. And when Anthony leads you on a very clever little path, you've got to contain the gas to give it the weight to justify the down.
I'm missing the point.
Yeah, because you're dumb as fuck.
Isolating. You can't really talk about states of matter when you.
I can talk about whatever I like. You're giving the example. We're ripping it apart.
But you can't talk about states of.
I can talk about whatever I like. You're giving the example to justify a sky vacuum. Now you're telling me what I can't do.
States of matter are how atoms and molecules relate to other matter. So you can't really talk about a gas if it's just one atom, because it's the relationship with everything around it that makes it a gas. So if you isolate one atom or one molecule,
Really? One atom? Can you demonstrate one atom?
No, stop. It doesn't have a relationship with its surroundings because it doesn't have any intermolecular bonds. You need them bonds to have mass. Your argument fails.
I'm going to shout out a few super chats. So shout out first of all to Mario Knows It's Flat, who says, shout out to Jose G. And then quote, I'm about 20% more sure we went to the moon, end quote. And then a picture of Bath coming out. And then shout out retracted. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Mario Knows It's Flat. Shout out also to Gordzilla, who says, if the gas didn't expand in all directions, I could safely fart downstairs and no one would be the wiser. Lovely example. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Also, shout out to Elijah, who's the last super chat. So I have to see if I can scroll up and find it. If I can't, it'll be when the next person super chats. Here we go. Like the vid, premium info here. Thanks, Anthony. Indeedy do. Thank you very much, everyone, for the super chat. Thank you, Elijah Freeman.
Shout out to Rancy, who joined 20 minutes ago.
Shout out to Adam, who probably joined before you.
Shout out to
I also had an objection about rotation. Evidence for rotation.
No. You just said to have weight, it has to be in container. Are you conceding something?
He is conceding.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Can I ask him a question now?
No, don't ask him a question.
I said if you to verify if gas has weight, you can put it in a container and weigh it.
Yeah, but we're not in a container, though. Do you understand?
So,
If we're not in a
Hold
container,
on, let's clarify that. Your religion of a sky vacuum has us open, no container.
how do you do it if you haven't got a container?
You give it weight.
No, you can't give it weight. It either has it or it hasn't. And if it's not in a container and it doesn't have intermolecular bonds, how does it have weight?
You're saying that in order to have weight, you have to have intermolecular bonds, and I'm saying that's false.
Unless you put it in a container, but that would be our argument. Do you understand that?
No, he doesn't. He's dumb.
Your argument is that if you put gas in a container, it has weight?
No, that's your argument and your example about how you give gas without bonds weight. No, not ours. You keep representing your argument like we're saying it. Can you stop doing that, please?
You're trying to knock me for like a demonstration, a practical demonstration. Like to measure something, you have to put it in something to weigh it. If it's a liquid,
all right. So what? To have this gas pressure and quantify it as a collective, you need a container. That's interesting. Does Earth as a ball in a sky vacuum have a container?
No.
So this example's flawed then. It doesn't work with your heliocentric religion and doesn't give you anything that can justify down when the gas is going up. So it's a fail on all counts, then, unorthodox.
No, it's not. It's not at all. It's proof. And unless you're saying that somehow whenever you release the gas from its container, then it has no weight. And you have some...
that's the problem. That is what happens without the container. It has no weight.
So weight is down, right? Something you put on a scale, you can weigh, correct?
No, weight is mass over volume. Sorry, no, weight is mass times little g.
Density.
Little g's down.
Yes.
So it's down, and the gas is going up. How slow do I need to say this? Wait. Oh, right. Let's stick this on a scale. Oh, it goes up as well. Hello?
Yeah. So when you release it from the container, you're
The
saying
container around Earth. Sorry,
property of
hold on.
weight.
The container that's around Earth. When you release it from the container around Earth we don't have, does it escape?
I'm saying you take some air, you compress it into a cylinder, and you weigh the cylinder before and after. You're saying that after I release it, like say I take the cylinder and I release the gas, it had weight before while it was in the container, but if I release the gas, it then has no weight.
So when you release the gas, hold on. When you release the gas from the container, does it just disperse? That's my first question, part 1 of 2.
Yes.
And the container was the thing stopping it from dispersing, correct?
Yes.
And does Earth have a container to stop the gas at pressure from escaping into your fundy belief in a sky vacuum? Do we have a container to stop the gas dispersing? Around your fundy belief, that is.
We do. It's called the gravitational container, aka weight.
Sorry, gravitational container. So, when we weigh things to give the example, we need an actual container. But then when it's applicable to Earth, it's a gravitational container that needs a container to make the example work. So there's no container before the example, but a container needed to make the example. Is that correct?
Yes, that's how you would contain like a liquid or a gas. You have to put it in a container and then set it on a scale.
I see. And Earth has a container around it to contain the gas also.
A gravitational container.
No, gravity is being described by you as you putting gas in a box and then weighing it.
I'm saying that's how you prove that the gas has weight.
Weight? No, it has pressure. It's expanding in all directions. So you putting it in a box, cramming as much as you can in, and saying, look, it's pressing down, as well as on all of the directions of the container. And then when I open the container, it disperses randomly and freely, unbonded in all directions. But we'll ignore that, because Earth doesn't have a container, because my example, when I put it in a box, has weight. That's your example.
Unorthodox, could I just ask
ignoring that it expands?
Unorthodox, wait. Can I just ask for a citation for what you said was a gravitational container, please?
I don't have a source ready.
I just made it up then.
Shooting off the cuff here.
Made it up.
I've just Googled it, and it comes back with nothing that's on topic, so nothing at all that matches. So I'm just wondering if you just plucked that out your ass.
Yeah, he has.
Pretty much.
Okay, so you've been defeated, and now you're plucking stuff out your ass. Wow.
It didn't work.
Great religion.
Shouldn't
Hold on, last question from me, and then I'll let everyone have their own with him. Shouldn't your religion of a sphere have better answers than this, than leaving you in a position where you've got to pluck stuff out your ass about gravitational force fields?
I mean, if you're thoughtful and you can think logically, plucking stuff out of your ass can be a good thing.
What, when you've got a religion that's supposed to have answers to this, and it's supposed to be the world we live in? So your religion, so you're saying it's good that your religion leaves you in a position where you need to pluck things out your ass?
I'm having a bit of a goof here.
Goof? You think this is your reality, mate? Goof? We're taking it very seriously. Earth is obviously and observably flat, and the sky is definitely not a vacuum. We're motionless. Now, that's a fact. But you just think it's a goof when it comes to proving the sky's a vacuum.
I only pull things out of my ass on weekends.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, take it seriously, mate. You came with a claim. Now it's been proven wrong. It's just a joke. Yeah, what a shock. It's your religious belief that we're debunking. Your belief in Earth being a sphere in a vacuum. It's not true. It's not right. We live on a flat plane and the sky's not a vacuum, mate. Now, you can find that goofy. I find it outrageous that we've been lied to on such a monumental scale about the sky being a bloody vacuum, even though it violates natural law. And even the fundies who believe in it can't come in here and defend it and goof off when they get beaten.
I mean, you still haven't addressed why it magically doesn't have weight when you release it from the container.
Magically doesn't have weight. Who cares?
we have-
Gas behaves as it behaves because it's gas. Do I have to
Nathan, you
justify
say-
why gas behaviour is as it is? No. Gas just behaves the way it does. But it doesn't behave conducively with the sky being a vacuum. It would all dissipate. We'd have no gas here. Do I have to
Nathan-
justify why gas does that? No. It just would if the sky was a vacuum, which it isn't.
Unless it had weight.
Unless it has weight when you put it in a container. But the Earth hasn't got a container, because if I put gas in a container and weigh it, I can justify a force field I've plucked out my ass.
That's just the practicality of measuring a contained volume.
What?
of
The force
gas.
field you plucked out your ass is a practicality that your religion left you in need of pulling out your ass.
Nathan, you
No,
did
it's
say
just
you were
how
going
you
to
would
handle the
weigh
things.
gas.
My bad. Go ahead,
How
Anthony.
how you would weigh gas.
Go ahead, Anthony.
So the mass that we've just said, that you said, if you take it out the container, it then doesn't have any weight. Yeah, it can't be in a container to give it weight. That's the point. You need to put it in a container. Whoa, shut up. You need to put it in a container to give it any weight. But on your model, it's not in a container, so it can't have any weight.
You don't have to put it in a container to give it weight. You have to put
That's
it in
what
a
you just said.
container to
That was what
weigh
you
it.
said.
Yeah, he's just double speaking now. That's precisely what you just said 30 seconds ago.
No, there's a difference between weighing something and it having weight.
Unorthodox. Are you not realizing the doublespeak that you're spewing right now?
No, it's just
You
bullshit.
say that you can only have the weight of gas if it's contained. But then right after that, you say you release the gas from that container and it still has weight. That's doublespeak, man. Do you not see
If
that?
I put so if I tell you to measure liquid, I'm gonna put it in a container and weigh it.
But we're not talking
then
about a liquid.
I empty it from the container. It doesn't have weight. That's doublespeak.
You're not talking about liquid. He's just
not
you just
talking about
ignored his
liquid,
question. He's asking
Yeah, I'm
how
using an
you
analogy.
how you define putting it in a container to give it weight, but then when it's released from the
Not to
container,
give
it
it
still
weight.
has the weight that you've given it when you put it in the container. That's double speak. You've ignored him and talked about fluid.
Do
It's
you know
not-
why
you're
fluids
not
have weight?
giving it weight
Do you know why fluids have weight? Unorthodox.
because things are attracted to Earth.
No, because they've got intermolecular bonds. In contrast, gases do not.
Hold on, that's wrong. Fluid is a term that's attributed to highly compressed gas where essentially you've removed all gaps. Now that doesn't mean that it's bonded, it just means that they're so close together that they behave as though they are bonded because there's no gaps
Sorry.
anymore. That's a
I'm
fluid.
sorry, I misspoke. I meant to say liquids. I apologize.
No worries.
If they were
Yeah,
bonded,
he
it would
said
be
liquid.
it would be solid.
Say again.
If they were bonded, if they were bonded molecularly, it would essentially be like one molecule.
No, that's the
No.
difference.
Like
The liquid
Hold on.
gas
that we
Hold on.
that are a
Oh,
little
this is a
different
red
from
herring.
bonding.
Hold on. It's a red herring. If they were bonded, is gas bonded? Yo!
Well, it depends on what you're talking
No,
about.
the
O2
answer is
bonded,
no. Not if, not it depends. The answer's no. This is a red herring. If they were bonded, who cares? They're not, are they? Answer, no.
O2 is an oxygen molecule bonded to another oxygen molecule.
Right, they are all unbonded, free to move in all directions at an intermolecular level. Now, while you're now juxtaposing an intramolecular level bonding, that's not what we're talking about. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so suddenly you do know the difference between inter and intra? Yeah, what shock. Just playing dumb for us, were you?
Totally.
Do you realise?
Yeah, we know. So you've got to play dumb to make your
Maybe I
globe
misunderstood-
religion
maybe I
work.
misunderstood.
You've got to play dumb. Pretend you don't know the difference just to have an argument that might work within your religious rhetoric. You've got to play dumb. Why would you need to play dumb to make this argument work?
I misunderstood you.
No, you didn't.
Maybe he's not playing dumb.
Yeah, maybe I'm not playing.
Oh, right. He just summarised inter and
Actually,
intramolecular bonds at a concise level. So he does understand them. But earlier he didn't. So what, he's just got a concise understanding of the difference while we've had this conversation? No, he's just playing dumb.
No, I misunderstood you. I thought you were talking about bonds that would bond atoms together to create molecules. I thought that's what you're talking about.
Oh, what? The thing I've just pointed out the difference between. What, you're going to play dumb again? Just playing with us, you're a twat.
I guess I missed it. That's what I was saying. I wasn't.
I guess I hear that stutter, and I know precisely what it means cognitively. It means I'm a lying sack of shit.
No, I misunderstood you. So your claim is
So, you don't need to stutter and wouldn't stutter if you weren't searching for the next lie.
I just don't know what you're arguing.
There's the stutter again.
Sure.
There's the stutter. You're a liar. You're just messing with us. You know you've got to play dumb and pretend you don't know the difference between stuff that's physically bonded, like a liquid or solid, versus a gas, and stuff that's got a intramolecular bond. You do know the difference. You're playing dumb because you need to equivocate so that you can give the gas a weight. That's the whole purpose of your little misrepresentation. You know it, I know it, and you think it's just going to get justified to the audience by claiming you're goofing off.
No, I misunderstood that. I was trying to get clarification.
So it wasn't that you were looking for understanding. You said you were goofing off. So just a lie that you were goofing off. You were intently listening and trying to find an understanding. You weren't goofing off. That was a lie.
Nathan, can I just say, it might be the case that he just genuinely didn't know because he's not as intelligent as he claims he is.
Okay, I'll accept that. You're just stupid. Fine.
Yeah.
That's
but I still
obvious.
don't understand your argument, though. Your argument
You're
is
the one that-
Did you mistake the argument when you were double speaking and saying that you would have to put gas in a container to weigh it and then releasing that from the container and it still has the weight that you needed the container for in the first place? Did you misunderstand that, or was that just purpose double speak?
No, just as in to measure a liquid's weight, you need to put it in a container.
I'd like to know why we keep talking about a liquid, because the whole time we were talking about gas. Now you want to talk about liquid.
Yeah, the reason he wants to talk about liquid is he needs a collection of them so that he can attribute the collection of them a weight. Well, gas is moving up and sideways in all directions until you contain it. That's our argument. He's too stupid to get that and wants to say, well, if I now take the properties of contained gas, I can equivocate to give me a force field to pull out my ass.
Yes.
Yeah, that double speak is not going to work anymore here.
The act of containing it gives it weight. That's your argument.
No, gas requires containment. Otherwise, it dissipates. Like when you describe weighing the gas, cramming a load into some sort of container, and then upon releasing it, it dissipating. Well, Earth doesn't have a container to begin with. We shouldn't have any gas pressure if the sky's a vacuum.
But you still
You
don't
said that
magically
was
get
that
rid of
was
the weight
our
property
argument.
by-
How do you weigh a gas again?
Have it in a
Unorthodox?
container, according to him.
What'd you say, Chocolate?
You said putting gas in a container to weigh it. That's our argument. But how do you weigh a gas?
In order to weigh a gas or a liquid, you would have to put it in a container as a practicality.
Oh, so that sounds like your argument then.
If you have to put it in a container, mate, then
Yes.
the atmosphere's got no weight.
No, in order to weigh it, it has weight regardless. Okay.
No,
And in
No,
order
it
to
has
weigh
mass.
it,
It doesn't have weight.
in a container.
Go ahead, Adam.
There seems to be a little confusion in terms of trying to attribute weight to gases. When we obviously we can discuss mass in terms of molecular mass, and they do obviously have that. The molecules are constructed the same. But when we're talking about gases and liquids and solids, particularly the differential with gases, we can't really attribute weight. We certainly can't in a Newtonian sense, because that is mass times acceleration of gravity, and we can categorically state that that is not undergoing any downward acceleration to give it its classical definition of weight. So all you can say is it has mass, however, that mass does not exert any weight on anything. And
why is
that's
that?
pretty classic, because the way in which we calculate and describe the equivalency of weight for gases is pressure, because that describes the amount of molecules in a particular area. And the way in which we discuss weight is an application of
No, that's not
the mass onto us. The way in which we describe the way in which gases exert their mass and have an effect on other matter is pressure. It's the number of collisions in which
in a given area.
yes,
Yeah, but the area's got to be given though. If it's infinite, then there is no area.
Yeah, and the measurements reflect that. PSI, things like that.
So what are you saying, Adam? That you can't have delta X unless you've established that there's a container?
Oh yeah. It's a necessary antecedent, isn't it? If you're gonna vary something, you have to have it in the first place to vary it.
So unorthodox, we need you to respond to that point and only that point.
How you measure pressure so the antecedent to pressure would be molecules
and
colliding with it. As given by the definition, pressure is force over area, not force over volume.
Over
so
area.
The only two antecedents are molecules.
What if the area is
an area?
Area of what?
Do what?
Area of
whatever you like.
If the area is
like.
infinite unorthodox, what's the answer?
What would you say?
If the area is infinite, what area are they colliding with?
The infinite area.
So there's
no real infinites in the real world, though.
Okay.
There you go. So how can we have weight in the atmosphere? Take as long as you want.
I'm not. How can we have weight? We have an acceleration field.
No, you've just
he didn't listen to Adam. Yeah, he didn't listen to Adam. So you're referring to this Newtonian downward force? Yeah, gas expands in all directions, and that's not how you attribute weight. Also, you've got it in a container, and the container is measuring the pressure, the force over the area of the container.
I'm talking about a scale at the bottom of the container.
Oh, really? Well, the problem with that scale is that it only accounts for one vector, and gas expands in all directions. Do you not understand how gas works? Do you not understand? Sorry, you've just said I only account for the bit on the scale. And I'm asking you, do not appreciate that it expands in all directions? Otherwise you wouldn't have that very thin air at the top of Everest. Because it'd never go up, would it? It'd only be going down towards your scale.
It only expands in all area or in all directions if there's nothing acting upon it.
Right.
Oh, God.
So the fact that there's a gradient means there's something acting upon it.
No, it means no. That means the gas is being produced at ground level. It's just thinner at the top as it makes its way up.
Because we know
but it would expand.
We know
in all directions.
Expands in all directions, so not just down then. So let's not worry about just measuring the bit when it hits the ground, because it also goes up. So what does it hit when it gets to the sky vacuum to press? What's the area it's pressing on when it gets to the sky vacuum?
Nothing.
And no, it has to press on something to have pressure. No, that's not a decent answer. It's not the time for you to talk. Can't press on nothing. You've just explained it needs an area.
For a pressure measurement.
Yeah, for a pressure to exist, you need an area for it to press on. And I'm saying gas expands in all directions, not just down. What's it pressing on at the top, where there's claimed to be a vacuum?
So you're saying 1 foot in front of my face, there's no pressure?
Excuse me. At the top, where you guys think the sky is actually a vacuum, a vast area for the gas to expand into, and given that you've accepted that gas would need to press on an area to be a pressure, what's it pressing on when it gets to the vacuum? You've said nothing. That doesn't work. It actually violates natural law. Second law of thermodynamics, entropy still exists, mate. The gas would want to expand to fill the volume. That's a law of nature. So when I ask what's it pressing on the top and you say nothing, no, that's a violation of natural law. Your sky vacuum that it's not pressing on. That doesn't work, mate. Gas doesn't just stop. It would expand into that vacuum, mate, because there's nothing there, as you rightly point out.
Unless it has weight.
So we're back to just saying if I only measure the downward bit of the gas that's expanding in all directions, I can say that the gas that made its way up to the top of Everest is actually going down. No, it made its way up to the top of Everest, mate. Not down, up. So what, just going to weigh the stuff at the bottom? No, it's still gas. It's still expanding in all directions. It still needs to have pressure. And according to you, it's not pressing on anything at the top, where there's a vast area for it to expand into. As it continues up, it made its way from the ground to the top of Everest and can continue up forever if the sky was a vacuum. But it's not, because we're all breathing.
Unless it has weight.
So we're back to the circle jerk. Round and round we go with him saying, let's ignore that gas is going up to the top of Everest, giving us a gradient. He's going to ignore that and say, I'm only measuring the gas that hits the scale. The fact that it hits it and fucks off back upwards, I'm going to ignore.
There's a downward bias.
A downward bias to the gas that's going up to the top of Everest. No, it's not biased downward. It's going up.
Can I explain something to you?
No, you can accept that the gas that's going up towards the top of Everest is on a merry journey upwards. It hasn't got a downward bias. Are you cognitively incapable of recognising that when gas is going up, it's not got a downward bias?
Nathan, let me have him for a minute.
Why?
No,
I'm
let
killing
him
him.
go. He's dead.
I know he's dead. I just want to kill him again.
My goodness, this guy thinks
Riley
the
likes playing
scale-
with his food.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
guy-
I want to kill him again, Nathan. Permission to
This
kill him
guy-
again.
This guy
Okay,
thinks
fine.
For the kilogram.
No worries. I'll shout out a couple of super
this-
chats and then you can kill him again. Stamp on his head, do whatever you need to do to his corpse. Right, MC Universe, Sacred Truth Keeper. I will get your name right once, I promise. Smoke in your ride. Okay. Open windows drive. Does the car's gravity hold the smoke inside the car? Lol. Right on, MC Universe, Sacred Truth Keeper. Very good super chat. Thank you very much for your support. Also, 5 Angels, who says, force over infinite area equals pink elephant. Thank you very much indeed for your super chat. Really appreciate it. Okay, Anthony, I'll calm down. You go ahead.
I just want the opposite. 3 questions, unorthodox. You said, and I'm quoting your words here. You said there's a downward bias, right? Bearing in mind that Newton's first law states that an object in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon by a force being the key word in this instance. What do you define as this downwards bias that you are slowing the molecule that's rapidly escaping at 600 meters per second? What is this force that you ascribe to a bias to?
An acceleration field.
An acceleration field. Does it have a name, or are we just going to magic one out of thin air?
Well, you know, I was trying to get around talking about gravity, but
Yeah.
acceleration field.
You know
aka
why,
gravity.
don't you? Because it's not a force, in it. So if you're going to say there's a downwards bias, right, and it's a force, because it needs to be according to Newton's first law, but it's not a force that you can say the G word for because you know it's not a force, then what is the other force then? Because if it's not G, it has to be some other force. And I'm going to assert you don't have one, and therefore there is no bias.
No, he does have one. He's got G. He explained that at the beginning of your back and forth with him. So he is using G, Anthony.
So the G is gravity then? I thought you said you were trying to avoid saying that.
I was trying to avoid saying it, but it's still my ultimate explanation is there's an acceleration field, aka gravity.
So
but
your ultimate explanation then is gravity a force, unorthodox?
Gravity is an acceleration field.
Otherwise known as a
atom
force.
Decelerates because of an uneven force against an unbalanced force being applied against it, right? And you're saying that that's gravity. Is that unbalanced force that's slowing the molecule down? Is that a force, unorthodox?
Yes, I mean it ultimately is a force.
No, gravity's not a force. Unorthodox.
Oh man, he doesn't understand
Not
his
been a
own
force for
religion. Go on, get the last word,
Right,
Anthony.
I'm done.
Okay, with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. If you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making this live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!